blow back. One email today.
You have to explain to them that if we don't have the extra day, how can we say about our stuff and vote on it? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. You got,
Kathleen's right.
I don't know.
The first purpose of everything else going is first priority. Second priority for me is fundraising. Everything else to me is secondary.
You're getting there.
Yeah. I don't know if the hotel's going to be able to answer the question I asked him this far out.
I think we can probably get up to the leadership. I think we can go in to see and then come back and do.
Talk about that. Right. Right. And the issue with that came up. The issue with that.
First off, two of our most valued members are walking wounded today. So I'm just going to stick to my portion, which we call the Libertarian Pipeline. For those who haven't been at a meeting before, we've essentially created a virtual group where we've got three simultaneous working groups. I'm technically the committee chair, but I head up what they call the Libertarian Pipeline. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, it's a pretty simple concept. We create as many contacts as we can at the state level. We take state level events, whether they could be humanitarian aid, whether they could be ballot access, and create a pipeline so that we could channel that through our national social media. So we've used it a few times since our last meeting. One banging press release that got a lot of traction up in Vermont, for example, that was targeted directly at one Senator Bernie Sanders, and hijinks and hilarity ensued. But it was a very serious piece about his weaknesses in terms of standing up for the virtue signaling in actual legislation that he talks about. Moving forward, the question, of course, is what do we do for content? What can we do simultaneously to promote boots on the ground activism at the affiliate level, and at the same time provide provocative video for purposes of party growth, fundraising, etc. Because again, as I mentioned yesterday, something I learned probably later than I should have, everything we do should have some facet of membership drive, recognition in the media, and fundraising. That should be in everything we should do. That should be in our DNA. So we've come up with the idea of having, if you will, I like to refer to among family and friends here as taking city councils hostage. If you've ever been to a city council meeting, legislation meeting, hearing, school board meetings, there's always public comment. And it's free. And not enough libertarians show up for these type of public comments. So the thought is, typically at most communities, you get a 5-minute limit. That's not enough to create both the impact and the depth of the discussion of the articles that we want to talk about. Important emphasis here is that when you do these, the issues should be focused on local events, local controversies, local legislation, everything to drive local support and local understanding of the Libertarian Party. So why not take 4 to 5 libertarians, more if possible, each taking advantage of their 3 or 5 minute timeline, and create a chain, if you will, of one contiguous speech. I've done it with other groups. It's very successful. You get to make your point, you get to go into detail, and you get to defy, if you will, the limitations being placed on the body politic. So, a couple of things. First of all, I've got a list of events coming up. We're going to try that in the very near term. I'm available, obviously, as an affiliate support committee person, as someone who does a lot of testimony, as someone who works closely with the media to train and coach and wherever possible, actually be there to both join in and help film. Which brings up the most important point. I think we all know at this point, if it doesn't happen on video, if it's not filmed, it simply didn't happen. So the point of this, when you go to these meetings, if you're in public comment, you're in the beginning. If you're very often forced to the end, if it's testimony, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in the legislature, who's sitting there at the table at that point in time. It doesn't matter how many people are actually in chambers with you. What matters is that the video captures the essence of your argument in front of the columns, if you will, of city government. You're at the moment in the place where it happens. And then what happens after that is the orderly, quick, pointed dissemination of that testimony, of that video, through whatever social media channels we have. So I think what we crafted here is a tool. And I know some of you have done it, and I think, Steve, when we talked about it, it's happened in Florida. But one of our challenges has always been getting people off of their computers, outside of their homes, and interfacing with the public, presenting to the public the most beautiful political and economic philosophy that has existed really since the dawn of man. And of course, that's libertarianism. The beauty of this is A, it's free. B, it's targeted locally. Did I mention that it's free? And once people get a little bit just more used to the idea of taking their thoughts outside and using their outside voice with people that may not know, wonderful things can happen because it can become part of the routine. When I coach people to do this, first of all, the first thing I say is, if you want, put your testimony on your phone. We'll hand you testimony. We'll all wordsmith testimony together. We're not asking you to be Abraham Lincoln, if you will, making some grand oratory. Here's the presentation. Get up there, stare at your phone if you're nervous the first 5 times, and just read it in a clear voice, even in a muffled voice, because either we or the city government will be videotaping that. And that video, quite frankly, is gold. We've got a bunch of upcoming events. When I say upcoming, I'm talking about this week. For example, like I said, I'll be talking about this in a little bit. Some immediate distribution of information related to the New York Libertarian Party and some of their efforts. Why I love in-person meetings. Over breakfast this morning, I won't spoil someone else's presentation, but conversation came up about a reaction, if you will, by the Libertarian Party to the looming financial crisis. That's this week. The main legislative hearings, I just got notice this weekend, has been scheduled for Wednesday. I'll be up there. I'll videotape it. We'll agree and we'll strategize, and that's part of the fun of this too. We get into the meat, and it's not an abstract issue that you're reading about in the newspaper. We've got a group of libertarians together, if you will, strategizing on how to present it. What's the appropriate presentation? Are we fire and brimstone? Are we reasonable, if you will, interjecting a reasonable note into what could be contentious hearings? All that can be done on the spot. So that's 3 things just this week. On April 3rd, as I mentioned yesterday, in Burlington, Vermont, they have their organizational meeting for their annual city council. If anyone hasn't met or had a chance to work with Olga, who's the chair of the Vermont Libertarian Party, she is absolute fire. She's doing magic up there. Having libertarian events at 30, 40, and for big states like California, that may not sound like much. But if you can get 30 or 50, 40 or 50 people to show up at libertarian events in Vermont, holy cow. She's actually already, as I mentioned yesterday, created a coalition to work off the event that they had in person outside in the real world on the Rage Day. Okay? So that's going to be happening on April 3rd. Upcoming in the next couple of weeks is the potential for New York legislation press conference to be held in Albany. I'll be at that. And then again, we've got 2 city council meetings this month, Taunton and Worcester. And we're getting gear up for the Rhode Island Defender Guard effort. So those are just some examples that are coming up in the next few weeks that where if we could take this process and move it, we can hopefully inspire other libertarians to do things, to take to the streets and bring our philosophy to the people, as opposed to sort of this, internal conversations that we spend a lot of time on. They're valuable. We need to be street preachers in a sense of libertarian philosophy. Where I need help, okay? I need all of your help. If y'all have an event, I don't care whether it's in Florida, California, send me the videotape. Make sure someone's there to videotape everything. Camera phone video is just fine. We don't, these don't have to, you don't need to edit them, just send us stuff, all right? Because that's the goal, is to make people aware, whether it's a highly organized event, which is happening this weekend in Texas, or the sort of pop-up events that happen spontaneously when you're political and you're out there doing things. It could be ballot access, it could be humanitarian, it could be city council nights. But I need all of the region's support. I've talked to a bunch of state chairs, and as of the last 2 weeks, 3 of them are no longer state chairs. So I need contacts at your affiliates who are, when I say activists, rank and file activists, who can be my contact directly, working, of course, in accordance with the state chair. That's just critical. I'm going to ask for your input on an issue, not today, offline. One of the things that we've attempted to get our arms around, and it came up in the last few weeks, is water in America. The government has essentially monopolized water, whether running it directly or outsourcing it to their favorite corporations. And they're failing miserably around the nation. Then, of course, you take up disasters like what happened in Ohio. We've been trying to work to get some local movement in Ohio, and it's because it's on the Ohio, Pennsylvania, whatever, Kentucky border. We're still trying to work on that. And we may have, as a result, unfortunately, missed sort of the news cycle impact of what's going on in Palestine, East Palestine. But at the same token, there's still always time to respond. There's time to respond editorially. There's time to respond with some type of charitable, if you will, effort to direct water there. The situation is worsening as simultaneously the media focus moves away from it. That's how these things go in America, right? We're already on to the next crisis. What is the next crisis? The banking crisis. Thank you. And somewhere in there were a couple other crises that happened. But to me, this is a challenging issue that has implications in places like Alabama, Mississippi, Ohio, California. This problem exists nationwide, and I'm trying to figure out how to get our arms around it so that we can get affiliates motivated to get involved. So that's all I've got. I need your help. Your help getting to me in contact with your local affiliates who are having events, who are doing things, who are out in the community is critical if we're to actually use our existing social media, to use our resources to promote them. Happy to take any questions.
I have, Matt, our secretary has a question, and I'll have
Certainly.
a question. Does anyone else?
Well, it's part question. Well, do you have a written report?
I have this, which I will say. I was trying to get the other two in. I will get that. To you.
Okay. I'm unfortunately going to pick on you a little bit, but this isn't really about you. I am getting extremely frustrated because we all need to be considerate to each other. I'd like to read to the committee something. General form of committee reports. All committee reports should be submitted in writing. In the case of such exceptions, a report can be given orally only if it is brief enough that the secretary can record its complete substance in the minutes on hearing it given, which the secretary must do if no written copy is submitted for file. You guys, this committee, I'm sorry, I'm super upset, have just added 15 hours of my volunteer time by not submitting written reports. This needs to stop. I know I'm not feeling well, so I'm very grumpy pants at this point. But if it's oral, it needs to be a couple sentences because I'm not your court reporter. Thank you. Sorry, that was really grumpy, but I think that I needed to lay the law down here a little bit.
Thank you. I agree. We need to do written reports. I have a question. Is there anyone on affiliate support who's handling marketing, internal marketing to the state affiliates?
Only when we have these call to actions. That's it right now.
Who is the person who's doing that?
That would be me.
Okay.
So if you have additional things that you want me to market to, or
No,
send
I
out.
want to make sure that you have someone on your team who is getting the word out.
Right.
But if you're the guy, then you're the
Right,
guy.
what we use, and actually this is a concern in convention season, we'll use is the email list of the state chairs.
Okay.
And I'm just curious, maybe briefly, how is that being updated at this point? Are we supposed to provide you something? Is the state supposed to provide the
Those are
secretary
questions for our
something?
executive director.
What I would love to do here, Pat, is to do a complete holistic, like top to bottom understanding of the objectives that you have. Because I think communication is one of the top things. I know we're talking about communication later today, so that will be germane to this. And I know there's a ton of energy in affiliate support, and the way we're going to be able to make that happen is more communication. And I know you and I spoke last night about the email inbox issue that we've been having there. So with that, why don't you and I get some time together this week to be able to go through that? And it would be really great to understand who's emailing what to state affiliates and when. I'll say we should start off with this, but there's some stuff in the works that's going to make this a whole lot better. And I think every committee could benefit from knowing how and when we talk to state affiliate leaders, and we're working on improving those channels.
Yeah, as I mentioned in that email that somehow got lost, what I'm looking for from the party is, and particularly as it involves, and we'll talk about this later too, but particularly as it involves staff members, I want to integrate into these emails that we send out and whatever, and also the social media is generated is, as I mentioned, and ask for money and ask for membership. And what needs to happen, what I've been trying to get to happen, is a relationship that's structured so that it's appropriate to your line of business and your course of business.
Yep.
Where, whether it be a ticket, whether it be a specifically formatted email that goes to you and whatever that needs to be, I just, in a sense, just need you guys to tell me,
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and then we'll just do it.
so we're going to get into this in depth in our staff discussions in executive session, because it's going to pertain a little bit to strategy and people's job descriptions. But we need to keep a few things in mind when committees are asking staff to do stuff. Is there a desire from the general membership to have that done? Does staff have the time? And if they do or don't, how does it impact their daily operations, including things like fundraising, CRM maintenance, and things that are really critical? So I'm not saying no, but I'm saying we have to consider these things, we have to triage them, and we also, sometimes we do have to scale back. We all ran on wanting to do things, and I want our committees to be functioning and active. But we've got to look at it, as how much of a piece of a pie, are we giving to the committee versus standard operations versus putting out fires and emergency stuff that they have to do, quite frankly, every day.
Yeah, and if I can quickly add on to that, just so I'm not talking around eggshells here. So I think there's a lot of committee staff collaboration conversations we can be having. Is nothing to do with affiliate support or candidate support or valid access support. I think it's just like a holistic thing we all need to figure out. And I'm excited that we're going to do that later today. I do not want to confuse the matter because of the migration we spoke about the other day of switching to Google Workspace to Microsoft 365. Committee members may not be aware that we have two domains at this organization, this company, lphq.org and lp.org. A number of you may email me into an email inbox I don't receive, and I think then I know that's happened with Pat, so we'll talk about that in executive session, but just so I'm not being unclear or ambiguous, there are some times when I will not see an email from you for months because I have not been provided access to that by the staff, right? So we're going to have to talk about that. I now have enough information to move forward with how we're going to be able to fix that, but I didn't want to confuse the issue to let you know. Here's what I was trained on when I joined the organization. The staff uses lphq.org, and then the committee members are provided lp.org. So we're going to be unifying everyone under a single hat, and that's details Andy and I will provide at a later date, but just want to be super clear that I think, Pat, there's been a number of requests that the affiliate support committee has made, and they've gone to the wrong inbox. Not wrong in your sense, just I think there's miseducation happening across a big batch of turnover that happened with the organization. So
We're going to get it fixed.
Yeah, exactly. So hope that's helpful. Sweet.
Any more questions for the affiliate support committee?
I have just a quick one. So one of the key asks you asked for is, hey, if you've got states that are doing, protests, other activities, send us the video. So anticipating questions, where are such videos likely to be posted? Is it exclusively LP national channels, YouTube, etc., or is it others? I know
No,
the vast Ford Media Network, for example, where, because they're going to ask.
Yeah, I don't do anything for the party on my personal stuff. I don't. I'll share party stuff in order to help the party, but I don't put that kind of stuff. Even to the point, for example, when I cover stuff in Region 8, I actually do the Facebook share from the Region 8 page. But great question. It's case dependent. You know, in certain situations, we're looking to, for example, the Libertarian Party of Maine. We go there this Wednesday. They give, hopefully the state's got, I'll videotape it if we need to, but the state takes some video. I scrape the video off the state website, clean it, put it into a format that the Libertarian Party of Maine will host, and then we get into a conversation with the social media people. And I had a pretty good working setup with Connor Nepo. And then depending on the direction of the communications department, we either share the Libertarian Party of Maine post, which to me is optimal, because what we're trying to do in a real sense is drive traffic to the local affiliate site to help them grow, particularly the ones that have been the victims of purges, like Massachusetts, who had to change social media midstream. So it's case by case dependent, but in all times, collateral, which could be anything, video, PDFs, will always be hosted by a libertarian or authorized organization.
And just by way of follow-up, Pat, is there any either that the committee has put forth or any sort of written guidelines that sort of govern this activity, or is it kind of loose?
I think right now we're using discretion. I run anytime I'm going to post anything, I run everything by Angela. Quite frankly, one of the things that probably needs to be discussed is if some of this stuff needs to go to the review committee.
Thank you.
I mean,
I don't do anything without somebody above me's authorization.
I think this is getting like the scope of affiliate support is really getting a creep. We're getting scope creep where it's getting really broad. At the same time, I think it's great that you're collecting that data because we need it, video footage, whatever. But we might want to consider like having you triage with someone who does social media.
Well, that's what I did with Connor. I mean, that's we had that
But
relationship.
Connor's gone now.
I know. So and I was hoping to connect with Otto this weekend, and whoever is currently, and I would imagine that's Laney, currently running communications.
So I'm not opposed to that at all, but I would almost pull that out. I might. Well, we should have an offline discussion about the scope of affiliate support so that we can figure out what's happening, what are the proper channels, how do we get it done quickly so that you're not just kind of, tilting in the wind. Yeah, because there are also some things that I would like to see affiliate support do, and I kind of want to see like how are affiliates responding to a lot of the work that you're doing, and just how's the whole thing like looking to the rest of the party? Are you getting proper support? Sounds like the youth caucus stuff is going really well.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of waiting on affiliate in the box.
Right.
So
That's why I was hoping Lynette was going to be able to deliver our report because it is going very well.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
We get a time check?
4 minutes.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we're going to hop on to our next agenda item. And that, I believe, is new. It's under new business with previous notice. And that's going to be Give or Get program by our secretary.
Okay. I had this on before, but we ran out of time. And I'd given notice of this a couple weeks ago. And it turns out to be even more timely now, just judging from some social media comments that I've seen. If you look at the end of month report that gets put out by staff, that's the financials that we look at. It shows what each LNC member has donated. Now, I don't think that each LNC member, because we have to spend so much money to get to these meetings, has to be expected to be one of our top donors. But I do think we should be expected, if we're not one of our top donors, to be one of our top fundraisers. And I don't believe in putting mandates, and we actually can't. The bylaws don't require it. But I always think it's a good idea for each LNC member for us to agree as a team to have a goal that by the end of the year, we're either going to personally give X amount, and I don't even care what that X is, or we're going to get it. Staff in the past has given us personalized fundraising links where that can be tracked. But even if we tracked it a little more informally, because again, this isn't some kind of bylaws rule, but I do think we need to, as a board, either be some of the biggest donors or biggest fundraisers. You know, I'm not particularly cash rich right now, so I get it, but I can fundraise. So I would like to see us come out of this meeting today with some kind of commitment that we're going to give or get by the end of the year. So I want this to be a little bit more than a discussion. I'm going to put forth a motion with an idea. I think that's going to be pretty modest, and I wouldn't even mind it being raised, but I want something doable. But just as a point of data, last year, this time, the prior LNC, the problem with that chart that's at the bottom, at the bottom of the end of month reports, is it also includes related parties. So like if you're married, we're required to report like what your husband or wife also. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at LNC members. If you take out related parties from the March 2021 report, we are in exactly the same spot as the last LNC, despite some social media posts to the contrary, because $900 was given by an unrelated party. But I'm not happy with that. I always want to be more, of course, it doesn't track our gets. So I'd like to make a motion, and hopefully this is a modest motion, that every member of the LNC, including alternates, just gives a gentleman's agreement to either give or get $500 each by the end of the year.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We're gonna go into discussion, and before I get to you, and Nana and Tanievich, I have a couple of comments to make that are clarifying. So most of the fundraising I do personally goes through our party channels officially. So you get chair appeal fundraising letters on a regular basis. I do fundraising at our in-person fundraising events on live streams. And I believe, have we had any other LNC members do appeals through party channels?
It's my understanding that Ms. Madam Secretary and Mr. Cowan have done that.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
So I'm not opposed to this, but I'm saying it's gonna get a little weird how we count it, because some of that is coming through party channel.
Can I clarify, Madam Chair?
Yes, and then I'm gonna go in the order, and then Stephen, I'll give you.
You know, again, that's why I wanted to make this just very much a gentleman's agreement. We don't even have to formally track it. I think we can trust each other, that maybe we just have an agenda item each meeting that says, hey, I brought in this amount, because I think members want to see this from us. I'm not trying to be real legalistic about it. I'm just trying to get us focused on the fact that each of us personally are going to commit, whether or not we can prove it on paper or not. I trust each of you that by the end of the year, we're either, if you personally give it, it will be on that report, easy to prove. But if say, I'm picking on Mr. Nikela because he's smiling at me, that if Mr. Nikela comes in at the July meeting and says, you know what, I talked to some party members and I got 5 members to donate $100 each, should be, and I believe you, I'm not going to want to ask for a party trail, for a paper trail, but I just want us as a board to move forward with that mindset and to make this pledge to each other. That's all I'm asking. Nothing any more formal than that, Madam Chair.
Okay, now, Nana, Tanievich, Nikela, Houston.
I would actually like it to be a bit more formal. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but I'm not really keep track. And I know that we have links that we can send out. So what we should do, in my opinion, is Drew created one for me a long time ago. What we should do is when we secure a donation, have them run it through that link, and then it should tag that donation based on like who raised it. And then we can maybe, now I'm not trying to create more work for the staff, so I want to ask Blaney, is there a way that we can passively do this with these links that would, I guess, I don't want the staff to have to keep track of this report. But I would like a report to exist that would have all of our names.
If we do that, it's gonna need a marketing rollout and a whole thing, or else we're doing a half-assed
We
job.
should do it, I think.
Let's jump to Mr. Tunievich.
So question and comment. The question is to the secretary, is your intention that the clock on this starts now?
Yes.
Okay, so my suggestion is that if we're going to do this, the clock should start with the beginning of our terms. I personally gave $1,000 not too long ago at one of our in-person meetings. I know of at least 2 others at this table who have given significant amounts. I don't think we should be, it's not penalized for that, but I think that should count for something. So that's my comment.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Nicola, then Houston, then Elliot.
So last term, we had an opportunity to actually make cold calls with the fundraising director. And we were able to talk to people in our different regions and raise some money that counted towards our total too. I think the total. Last term I was able to bring in some big donors that donated a significant amount. I think it'd be really helpful and cool if we can get some customized fundraising links that we can send out to people we know, and especially if we're supporting our states and our region to try to get our tally up, to try to be out in the other states. I think it'd be a fun competition to see where we're at, a good gentleman's competition to raise so much money as possible.
Ms. Houston?
Great, and thank you so much to Mr. Nana and others who are concerned about staff time to make this possible. What I would really love to see from the committee is the appetite to help in one or both of 2 things, time or dollars. From there, what we can do is, number 1, make sure that this report is suited to serve the goal that's set here by the committee. There is no reason why the report as it is has to be reporting what it is. So what we should do is make sure everything in all of our reports are actually serving our objectives. So if people have a general energy or a more concrete target that they'd like to contribute to, I would love to hear what that is. From there, we spend a lot of our time making sure that our logistics and tactics support our fundraising goals. I'm a little nervous that if we're just having a blanket, go fundraise, that we can actually start to step over each other. People interpret actions by the committee as part of the brand. There's ways that we need to track things correctly. So like Angela mentioned, doing this is very possible. I would just love to do it in a cohesive manner so we can roll it out and make everything possible for you. Additionally, I want to just make a comment that I made the other day. Some types of fundraising is easier to empower committee members to do than others. For example, lifetime memberships, extremely straightforward. The body really understands what they are. There's no promises that can be kept or broken as a result of a lifetime membership. It's a pretty straightforward cash infusion if someone wants to give that to us. It also makes it easy on you guys to be able to sell something simple versus, let's say, trying to do something like a little bit more complicated or this or that, or, this pricing, that pricing. So if we're going to do something, I would just love to make it really straightforward with the understanding that you all are volunteers and you need kind of like sales enablement materials, and that takes work for us to provide. We can do it once we know what your appetite is. So that's my 2 cents on that.
All right, hold on. I got Elliot, and then we got Martin, then we got Hagopian.
All
Then we
right,
got
I actually do physically rise, because that makes things better
time
for
check.
me. But I rise strongly, with all
1
due
minute.
respect to Madam Secretary, I rise strongly against this idea. Usually a mature board is of older, successful people of means, a board of trustees, for example. Here we have a board that has a few older and financially reasonably successful people, but we also have a lot of young activists. We've got a full spectrum of people with from a financial resource standpoint. We also go after the same people for money all the time. Our job is to make this organization substantially more successful and visible, and the money will come. And I'm really worried. We've been hearing about we don't have enough volunteers for this, that, or the other, and to add another obligation onto people of this board, I believe, is a serious misstep. Thank you.
Okay.
Time, Madam Chair.
All right, we're at time. Does anybody want to extend time?
Move to extend time by 2 minutes for my speech.
Ah.
5 minutes for his speech and my speech.
Okay, 5 minutes. Move to extend time by 5 minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any objections to extending
Object.
time?
No, thanks.
Wait,
We can go on with this for an hour, so.
Yeah, but we're
Did
going
you
to
object?
only 5
Yes, I
minutes.
object.
Okay, all in favor of extending time? All opposed? Okay, time is extended by 5 minutes. Mr. Cowan, go right ahead.
Lest you think I'm cheap, I'm gonna vote no, but I'm also the third highest contributor on that list, I think. Also, I made more calls probably than anybody at the table. I agree totally with my colleague said is, I don't want to, we all spend about $4,000 a year to come here, and boy, oh boy, is that enough. So I'm totally opposed to this. I appreciate everyone's work here. Everybody is fantastic, and they're very, very supportive of our organization. I certainly don't think we ought to put a burden on them first. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Hagopian?
Not making a motion, but I would invite one from somebody else. I would be in favor of this if we were to do a group goal. Again, to a couple other people's points, some of us have enough money to do this, other folks don't. A group goal where your contributions, any appeals that you work with staff, and a single membership link for all of the LNC would be able to track this in a way that doesn't burden staff and allows us all to go towards the group goal without shaming individual members along the way as we get towards the end of
Okay,
the.
Mr. Ford, we're close on time.
Yep, I want to
And me and
reemphasize
the
based on just the conversation we just had. I think it's critical to Ms. Harlow's points in the past that committee leaders, committee managers be trained and be established so that they can raise money on behalf of their committees. And that, I'm not sure if that's happened yet, and I think it needs to happen post haste.
But keep it germane to this because
But it's 12 fundraising.
it's give or get. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. Regardless of whether the motion passes, I am going to encourage staff to work on some affiliate links and a program rollout so the board can do fundraising better. But I'm not going to rush it because I want it to be polished and professional. Okay, Madam Secretary.
Okay. Again, Mr. Nikhil, a few of us have been on the LNC for a while. I have to say, I'm really surprised this is at all controversial. This is something that the LNC has routinely done for 50 years. And normally the amount's like $5,000. And I'm not asking anyone here to give $500. I realize we have some very young people here. Young people are great fundraisers. If each of us here can't commit to get $500 a year, I don't know, that's a problem to me. And I'm going to do it no matter what. And I actually do have some concerns about the stepping on each other and all that. I don't believe in the fixed pie. I get on Twitter once a month and raise money. I just ask for money, and people do it because they know me, they like me, they give money. But to have a reluctance that I thought this was the mildest possible motion. I mean, I'm kind of feeling like, I'm not trying to do some kind of weird comparison, but when I did that mild motion about let's have an advisory committee on COVID and everyone was against it, had no authority, no teeth. This is no authority and no teeth. It's just us being nice to each other going, yeah, I think I can help raise $500. Like, how in the world is this controversial? It's just astounding to me. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a 20-second comment. I've had my hand up for a substantial amount of time. Thank you. I don't disagree with the individual raising or contribution aspect of it. I do think that the tracking gets really murky. We have individuals like me who are, for example, I'm on the Convention Oversight Committee. I know that I'm going to be bringing in booths for that, but that's going to be going through the Convention Oversight Committee. Same thing for candidate support. So again, I just think I like the idea of the more formal, but I think it really gets murky when you start talking about individuals that are fundraising through committees and all the different locations. I think we should do this. I think the one number goal is great, but my opinion is we should be fundraising. We should be donating. It's a low amount, but I think we need to talk about it more if we want to make it more formal.
Okay, where are we at with time?
1 minute.
Okay, jump in, Mr. Pecky.
So I'm pretty much an unqualified yes on this. I think that we need to start somewhere. We can get bogged down in all the minutia. I think the intent here with this would be for the body to declare that this is something we would want to do, give the enablement. Because it's so informal, it's just announcing our intent to go and get this started. And that gives the staff, it gives everybody else, because it has no teeth, it simply is the beginning of a process by which we would go through and fundraise. And I think that it's very incredibly mild that way. And so I'm in firm support. And I've discussed this with my state chairs. And I know that there is, that state chairs in my region are definitely for this type of program.
Okay, Mr. Nana?
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor? It looks like we do. Should we
Yep.
do the ballot?
Well, I was getting it ready. The motion is right here.
I
I'm
have
just
an
gonna-
amendment.
Oh
All
my
right,
gosh.
so, amendment would read,
We just ran out of time.
for every LNC member, including alternates, to either give or get $500 by the end of the year, through an affiliate link or personal.
We're
And
directing
that would-
staff in this now?
It
Just
takes,
clarifying.
it takes like 30 seconds to set up an affiliate.
No,
No,
sorry.
it doesn't.
No.
No,
Um,
it doesn't.
Drew,
Most
how
of
long
the
did it-
sales that you guys are gonna be make will probably be verbal, so we need, it's a lot harder than it sounds. I just wanted, so I would prefer if the logistics of the tracking were not in the motion, sorry.
Go ahead, you can
I'm
make your
directing
motion,
staff.
but,
I'm directing staff. I think it needs to be done this way. It's the only way to keep track of it.
okay,
All right, the motion's out of
all right,
time.
time.
No, we're not.
Yes, we
Time.
are out of time.
Okay, so we're on an amendment.
So please tell me where the amendment went again. I got your language, I think.
Including to either give or get 500 by the end of the year, through an affiliate link or personal.
Okay,
And then it would strike as a part of the gentleman's.
Okay.
Okay,
gotcha.
so now we're voting on the amendment.
So now it's
Is it seconded?
No, it has not been seconded. Does it have a second?
I'll second.
So time doesn't make any difference on this?
Do we need, Madam Secretary, do we need to extend time to incorporate the vote?
No, with no extension of time, it's like calling the
Right.
question.
Yeah.
The
We're calling
amendment will
vote
go to a
on
vote, then the primary.
Okay, all right, we're gonna go to a vote just on the amendment.
Okay, I need to set up a different ballot for that. Give me one moment. I'm actually going to make this, yeah, duplicate. I'm making this like 7A, and we'll change. Let me, I'm gonna have to just, I'll read aloud what it is. So the roll call will be on 7A, even though it's Nana's amendment. One moment. Okay, so the amendment.
All right, guys, settle down so we can do the roll call.
So we're on the amendment, which is to strike as part of a gentleman's agreement to each other and insert through an affiliate or personal link.
Just through an affiliate link or personally, I don't think it really matters much, but that would officially was.
Yeah.
Personally means you donated, like the way we're already tracked, not personal link, but personal lead. Yeah, like you literally gave the money.
Affiliate link or personal link?
Oh, or personal lead.
As in I give the $500
Personal
instead of
donation is
fundraising,
what it's
$500 on the link.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear correctly. Or personal lead. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the roll call vote when our secretaries are ready.
Mr. Cowan,
No.
Mr. Blankenship,
No.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Mr. Duquesne.
Yes.
Oh, here we go with these again. One moment.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
That's all right, we can fix it pretty easy. Mr. Clark,
No.
Mr. Elliott,
No.
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Pankey,
No.
Mr. Agopian,
No.
Ms. Harlows.
Pass. I didn't abstain, I passed. You'll come back to me.
Okay. Mr. Nana,
Yes.
Mr. Michaela,
Yes.
Mr. Rufo,
Yes.
Mr. Chunjevich,
No.
Mr. Watkins,
Abstain.
Ms. Harlows,
Great. I'm going to vote yes, and I'm sorry, Madam Chair, that's going to make you a tiebreaker.
I'm gonna vote no.
Didn't mean to put you on that spot.
That's okay.
So we have 8 for no, 7 for yes, and 1 abstain.
So now
Where's the
we're,
abstain? Oh, that is me.
so it's now my main motion, which is move for every LNC member, including alternates, to either give or get $500 by the end of the year as part of a gentleman's agreement to each other. And the ballot set up,
Okay,
it's
so
all
we're back,
called.
we're
yeah.
back to the original main motion.
So that'll be on 7.
7, yes.
Okay, we're ready.
Yeah, we're out of time, so.
Mr. Callen,
No,
Mr. Blankenship,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
No.
Mr. Duquesne,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
No,
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Pankey,
Yes.
Mr. Agopian,
Yes.
Ms. Harlos,
Yes.
Mr. Now,
Yes.
Mr. Michaela,
Yes.
Mr. Rufo,
Yes.
Mr. Chunyevich,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
We have 11 for yes, 3 for no.
Okay, the motion passes. So give or get program motion passes. I am still going to work with staff to get something out so that we can coordinate to have some board fundraising. That'll include links, but they're gonna give us a little bit of advice so that it's not competitive and we can have some scripts. All right, so the next item on the agenda is addition of Mr. Dassing to Social Media Advisory Committee by Ms. Eiler. Did she have anything she wanted to say?
So I believe that, Mr. Dassing has been kind of handling the Facebook since
Yep.
Connor's departure. So I think she's putting forth, the motion that he would be put on the committee since he's kind of running the Facebook page.
So it's an appointment committee by me. So her motion will be out of order, but I will appoint him. So he's on. Ta-da! Appoint.
Yeah.
Okay, that takes care of that item. We're gonna go next to update on Leadership Institute training by Ms. Gabbard, and then after that, it's probably gonna be appropriate for us to break for lunch.
I'm not seeing the up-to-date agenda in the OneNote. Would you mind verbally just explaining how to find that? It might be an error.
Under housekeeping, adopted agenda.
So am I wrong that this appears to be totally out of date? So,
Which section?
okay, so, but then also, for example, we see that up here.
We did also.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
What?
Hold
so,
on. Oh, that's, I don't know what she's looking at. I can tell you that we're on track.
like I keep refreshing. I just want to make sure I'm
Yeah.
not looking at the wrong agenda, that's all.
Okay, it might be the wrong one.
Cool. We can deal with it.
Okay, well, okay, so, Leadership Institute training by Ms. Gabbard. Did she give you something she wanted to bring?
Yeah, yes, we had discussed this, and really this is more of, we'd like to get an update from the chair and discuss what's going to be going on about leadership training, in discussion with our state chairs. It was mentioned in the last quarterly meeting that there was going to be a program and there was going to be an amount that was done with the Leadership Institute, and it was going to be done by some part by the states and in the region, some part that's being done by national. Wanted to get an update as to where that is and how our relationship with the institute is going to be. The feedback that I got from chairs is that we've done this previous LNCs and the LP has done this before with the Leadership Institute, and generally those programs have not gone well because they've turned into political fighting between the LP members attending the training and the Leadership Institute members on various political issues. And so it really wasn't nearly as productive the last time that this was attempted with them. And so was wondering how that relationship will be structured in order to be maximally productive and not just boil down into a bunch of people arguing.
Okay, so I spoke with someone at the Leadership Institute about that. Here we go. Some of our members at past conventions were extremely rude. That is no longer the case because we are a great political party who is welcome and appreciative of the people who are willing to train us at such a low cost. I think that's the appropriate answer to that question. To follow up, and then I'll jump right to you. All that needs to happen is the region rep needs to reach out so I can connect you with connect the state chairs with the Leadership Institute point of contact. You guys need to decide where you want your training to take place. Very simple. And then as soon as you're ready to go and you have a rough idea of where you want it at and your hotel and so on and so forth, I'll get you in touch and you can set up a time. Super, super easy. It doesn't require a lot of planning.
Okay.
Mr. Nana?
So on that note, the Region 3 training, we're going to request it with the Leadership Institute to come out to the Hotel and Robert C. Holbrook Convention Center, the place I talked about yesterday.
Yes.
July 28th through the 30th. What I need to know then, I guess, and we can take it offline if we have to. Number one, how do I start that process? Because I've just told you verbally, but I want to get it down.
Email me
Okay.
after the meeting, put that in there, and then I'll just copy you right with our contact, and then you guys will get the ball rolling.
Second part is the cost. We're sharing costs with National?
Yes.
And what's the breakdown?
I can't remember off the top of my head what I said last time.
I thought you said like 1,500 and 1,500.
I think it's a little more, I think it's closer to 2 and 2.
Okay.
So, there's been some changes on this. I believe when we originally spoke about it, the cost was 3,000. The motion last time was for 4,000, so I don't know if that's
I believe
higher
that
buffer.
yes,
And then,
the cost and the total cost to fly them out and do the training is $4,000.
okay, so that's everything.
So we're splitting it, and the last time we mentioned it, our treasurer mentioned that I was gonna put National slightly over budget for training. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It's just something to be aware of.
And if I may, we can take this offline, but it would be great to get this documented into a little brief or a proposal or a one-pager. We can totally do it offline. One of the things I think that we should figure out in that brief is how does the revenue or the cost split work? Because we just talked about how this happened at the rally. It led to unintended or maybe unanticipated consequences around expenses and revenue on our balance sheets. We should just know our strategy going in. If the states are paying us and we pay the Leadership Institute, or if we're both paying them, or the other way around.
So I'll connect staff on that email, and then we'll get that sorted out. There was another hand, Mr. Tinian.
Just a quickie, so for this, assuming it's $4,000 and a shared cost.
Yep.
Is this a 1 day or 2 day?
It's a weekend.
Weekend?
So Saturday, Sunday, full days.
Thank you.
And any other questions on that agenda item? All right. If that's it, then we are at a good place to break for lunch. And then when we come back, we're gonna gavel in and we're gonna have a couple of motions and go into executive session. So everyone be prepared for that. So I believe lunch is ready at 12, right?
Yes.
So you got a couple of minutes and then it's gonna be in that same back room. I'm gonna say we're adjourned until 1 p.m.
So it was like half an hour late yesterday.
Okay.
Should I go check and get a time estimate and get half an hour business if that's gonna be the case? Where you guys go?
Sure.
I'll go.
We will stand at ease, unadjourned. We'll stand at ease, and while Andy Bukovich figures that out for us. I'm totally.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay, I did not move that, yeah, that's gonna be today. Okay,
That's
okay.
So this is correct. I think yesterday we had a couple of ones and I wasn't sure if it was.
Yeah, no, those got moved, those were this, the CRM and the discussion of transparency got
Yes,
moved
I
to the
think
end
this
of
was
the
the
day.
number one thing
Oh,
that
okay.
was causing
Spend a
me.
lot of money.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, yeah.
I just travel like
I
every
know
day.
we've been having Wi-Fi issues, just want to make
So
sure.
I took a job, so I'm just not like,
Phone's got her own, so- I know that you travel. Right. That costs money. Yeah. $90 hotel room. Right. Yeah. And the time. Yeah. I'm not making money. I felt like I had to respond to that. Shot.
Right.
So training, is that in
Oh, is
the
it? All right.
other
Okay,
benefits
so
provision
we're,
training?
you're gonna settle down. Okay.
So,
So let's be back here at 1 o'clock.
I'm gonna unplug this, okay?
Let me just.
Kill the owl.
Kill it. Kill a fire.
So that's in the revenue. Okay, the quota. So it's, 2,000 for